As I sit here looking at this photo of Taliban fighters on paddleboards, floating atop a beautiful crystal clear lake, grinning from ear to ear in what looks like terrorist Disneyland while gripping their bazookas, I just can't help but wonder about what alternative dimension we've somehow slid into. Did we create this alternative reality ourselves? Was this always our fate? Are we doomed to follow this timeline, or is there some way out of it? In episode 172 of American Reveille with James Lane, I bring you some snippets of unbelievable insanity and some eye-opening realities you may not have seen coming. We've got young money capitalist Nicki Minaj, now a spokeswoman for free speech after Twitter blocked her for going against the COVID narrative. We've got Dave Mustaine, famed singer of heavy metal band Megadeth, also standing up for free speech. Interesting. A pissed off mom reads her 10-year-old son's school book and makes a shocking discovery. We've got the 11 companies, there's a lot more, but 11 we're going to talk about, enforcing Biden's tyrannical vax mandates. And of course it turned out this way. The only armed person at the J6 rally Saturday turned out to be an undercover agent. So, in a world where we trust the opinions of celebrities over our so-called elected officials, where the left teaches our children underage gay pornography and says it's normal and okay, where we're forced to give up our own bodily autonomy, and where undercover agents seem to be lurking around every corner, you have to ask yourself the question: is everything that's happening, everything that's been going on, is it all one big coincidence? Or is this broken woke world we find ourselves living in by design? Find out next on American Reveille with James Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here. This is episode 172 of American Reveille with me, James Lane, coming to you from the underground compound up here in the Pacific Northwest, hopefully not forever, looking at Oklahoma. Got my eyes set on the South, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get the hell out of this blue state. How's everybody doing today, tonight, this morning, this afternoon, whenever, wherever you are listening to this? I want you to take a look. If you're watching, we've got listeners all over, from Apple Podcast to Spotify, and hopefully soon across AM radio, but that is something for another story. But if you're watching, take a look at this right over here on the screen. We finally got the new website done. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's just as good, if not better, than all of the rest. The Bongino.coms, the Timcast.coms. We look good. This is pro as hell. All right, we've got all the different categories for a publication. American Reveille, as you know, has its own publication. It's not just a show. We've got blogs here, politics, featured, economics, latest, health, crime, international, legal, business, tech, entertainment, memes. We've got woke news, education news, stuff about the climate. Folks, we are set up. We're growing every day. And we appreciate your support. Everything you guys have done so far, sticking around, watching what we're doing, watching us grow, watching us go through bumps in the road. It has not been easy, especially facing all of the censorship that we have been up against. We gained thousands and tens of thousands of fans, and then we lost thousands and tens of thousands of fans, and people couldn't find us all of a sudden. But we're doing different things to get ahead. I built this website. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I did all of this myself. I had to teach myself how to do it. It was a royal pain in the butt. It took months to figure out, but we are here. We hope you enjoy it. Head to AmericanReveille.com, American, Reveille.com. and just check it out. Let me know what you think. There's a contact form on the top. If you're interested in sponsoring us, you can go there. If you're interested in business dealings, if you're another podcast, radio show, if you're in the biz and you want to talk, head over to AmericanReveille.com. Go to the contact sheet at the top there and let me know what you want to talk about. And if you just want to reach out and say hi, you can do that too. We need new writers. We're always looking for writers. You can use the contact form on the website or email me directly. That's James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. We're always growing, always looking for fresh talent, and we need your help to compete with the big boys, because if we don't get past the censorship and don't compete with the other folks out there that are putting out the conservative side of the truth, then we will never be seen, and this will all dwindle away. And we don't want it to, because trust me, folks, we've looked at a lot of the things that are out there, a lot of our competition, and it isn't as quality as ours. Their writers aren't as good. Their website isn't as good. Their feature, their podcast, their organization, it just isn't as good. They just have a little more money, so they get in your face quicker. Unfortunately, we had to do it the old hard way with pickaxes and shovels, but here at the American Reveille, we've got calloused, blue blood, bare-knuckled, pain-induced suffering, learned strength, and we're unstoppable. So we will get through it. We will grow, and you will see we will outlast all of the others. So the moral of the story, check out the new website. All right. We put a lot of effort into it. We've been waiting a long time. Maybe now we can finally get to that sticker competition I've been talking about forever and blowing off because we didn't have the money to do it. Or maybe I'll just sell some of them. We'll talk about it. Let me know if you want to see some merch. But we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Like I said, we've got celebrities out there running their mouth in a good way for once, sticking up for free speech. We've got parents across this country fighting against the school boards, fighting against the public school system that's indoctrinating our children, which is a good thing. But some of the stuff that's coming out, the things that we're being told our children are learning about, are horrifying. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. We're going to talk about some of the companies out there enforcing Joe Biden's tyrannical and psychotic dictator-like vaccination mandate. The companies over 100 people forcing folks to get vaccinated or take a test every week that they must pay for. Think about how that would hit your pocketbook with all of this Biden-induced inflation going on. And of course, the J6 rally that took place on Saturday. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to find out more about this character that they tried to arrest. And it turned out that this armed, shady individual was actually an undercover agent, which is leading me to the theme of today's episode, which is asking the question, like I said in the introduction, is this all a coincidence? And you've heard Steve Bannon say again and again, there's no such thing as coincidence. But is this a coincidence? Or is this by design? Is somebody pulling the puppet strings? Who benefited from all of this craziness? Because it feels like we are living in the Matrix. All of these news stories that don't seem related, they're related. I'm reading them to you because they're crazy. The news has gone crazy. Think about back in the day, back in the 90s, back in the 2000s. Things were not this extreme. So I have to ask, who is benefiting? I'm under the impression, and this is just my opinion, but is it possible? Ask yourself the question, is it possible that China, they released COVID to press the fast forward button on their economic growth in the world and possibly even use it as maybe the Super Nintendo cheat codes, the Sega Genesis cheat codes to get ahead, to skip the levels and overtake the United States as the world's superpower. They've definitely aided in infecting our country with critical race theory, using woke ideology against us. They seem to pay off the Swalwells of our government Joe Biden, his son, they all seem to be in the pocket of the even bigger big guy, the Communist Chinese Party. So it seems they benefit the most. So we've slid into this new reality, this alternate timeline. If we were in a time travel butterfly effect type movie, we've slipped in. Here we are. And we have to ask, who is to benefit? It seems China benefits. The rich elites of the world benefit. The New World Order stuff you hear about, the Great Reset that you hear about, this engineered future that the so-called conspiracy theorists of the world have talked about. It might be true, ladies and gentlemen. It just might be true. We're going to read through some of these news stories. We're going to talk about this wacky world, this wacky woke world we're living in, with catastrophes happening at all sides of the spectrum, at all four corners and beyond. We're going to discuss it a little bit. And we're going to try to drive this point home. I want you to think about, during this whole thing, I want you to think about the chaos that we're going through, the world that's changed over the last few years since COVID has come, and everything has turned upside down, and the veil was pulled. It was pulled back, and everybody got to see the naked villainy of the government, the naked villainy of the left, the evil tyranny of Joe Biden. People got to see it. And now we seem to all be stuck in an alternate reality, like we're in the Matrix, like we're in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Literally, this moment in history is like, it's like that scene from the movie Independence Day when Jeff Goldblum flips the laptop around and you see the timer ticking down. And he says to the president, "Mr. President, they're using our own satellites against us." And the clock is ticking. That's what it feels like. We've been infected. We've been infiltrated by critical race theory, by woke BS science, by Chinese communist academia, if you want to call it that. The Chinese helped implant this culture, this infectious disease of social justice. This generation, these multiple generations of participation trophy getting, safe space needing, soft individuals. They weakened our infrastructure. They weakened our hard walls. They got the giant dragon that is the United States to expose its soft belly, its soft underbelly. And then it struck. And now we're here. Being hit from all angles. I really feel like China benefits and all of these elites benefit. They change the world in their wicked vision on the backs of you and me, ladies and gentlemen, you and me. Which brings me to my first article. Only an incompetent buffoon like Joe Biden could enable this to happen. And we actually see a picture over here in the corner. An ad came up that's showing some trending stuff. This is on the New York Post. We see a picture of Gabby Petito here. That was the young blonde woman who disappeared. The boyfriend was hiding at the parents' house. Then he wasn't hiding at the parents' house. Now they're looking for him. Well, they found her body in Wyoming. The FBI at least believe it's her body. So we don't know what happened yet. We don't know what craziness went down, but whatever it is, she probably didn't deserve to get murdered. Hopefully there's some sort of explanation, but at this point, I can't see how there is. But let's get to this. Armed Taliban fighters seen riding pedal boats. This was the picture you saw in the intro. With the bazookas, armed Taliban fighters seen riding pedal boats on lake in Afghanistan. And yes, there are lakes in terrorist Disneyland, Afghanistan, There are lakes in Afghanistan, and the Taliban is floating on their floaties, sipping on gin and juice without a care in the world. Courtesy of Joe Biden and the U.S. government. All of these things, they put money in the pocket of China. They do. All of these things, this incompetence, it puts money in big business, the people who have to clean up this mess, and in the pockets of the elites, people like Joe Biden benefit from Joe Biden's incompetence. Is it intentional? Is it dementia? It could be either, because either they're both plausible answers. I always joked for years now, last year or 2 or 3, that Joe Biden, he's not actually senile. He's pretending. So that when all of this comes crashing down and the feds or whoever, because we don't even trust the feds anymore, whoever comes in to arrest him, he can be like, it's Jell-O pudding day, and not go to jail because he's lost his mind, when in fact, he didn't lose his mind. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's pretending so that he can keep himself out of jail, but he's probably out of his mind. He's probably pooping in a diaper. That's when he's stuttering. He's he's pooping at that moment. But I digress. Let's do a little reading. This is by Jackie Salo, New York Post. Armed Taliban fighters seen riding pedal boats on lake in Afghanistan. They're taking their favorite weapons out on the water. More than 24 Taliban fighters armed with rocket launchers and assault rifles were seen riding in colorful swan-themed pedal boats at Band-e-Amir National Park in the eastern Bamiyan province of Afghanistan Saturday. In one of the photos shared to Twitter by reporter Jape Hanrahan, a Taliban fighter appears to be aiming a rocket-powered grenade. The deep blue lakes in the heart of the country had been considered a relative safe haven before the militant group's takeover last month. Quote, "This park serves as an icon for the identity of the Afghan people, for essentially a beacon of stability for 3 decades of chaos that they went through." Alex Degan, formerly with the Wildlife Conservation Society, told CNN back in 2019. James Wilcox, founder of the UK-based tour company Untamed Borders, said that it had once been safe enough to bring visiting groups. Look at that. Look at that. Those paddle boats that they're on, they look like they have like little swan heads in the front. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what that is, if they're made to look like swans. This looks like terrorist Disneyland. Seriously. Every time we take people to Band-e-Amir, they have a great day, Wilcox told CNN at the time. Most people's impression of Afghanistan is that it's dry desert full of just war and terror and misery and fundamentalism, whereas all those things exist, but lots of other things exist as well. The general sort of banality of life doesn't happen on the news, but it goes on all around us. This picture, this clear blue water, it actually looks really nice. I'd love to swim in there. Not with those armed terrorists in their swan boats, but, and there's a pink and there's yellow ones, there's white and pink ones, there's blue ones. It's so cute. It's so cute. They can get a nice day out on the water, relaxing, screaming Allah Akbar while shooting their assault weapons into the sky, taking a load off from their difficult day terrorizing, courtesy of their sponsor, Joe Biden. Afghanistan's new rulers have seen growing conflict, even with the even more extreme ISIS-K, which have a stronghold in the eastern Nangarhar province. Explosions on Saturday in the city of Jalalabad left 3 dead, at least some of whom were Taliban members. Protests are also occurring across the country in response to the Taliban's new ban on girls returning to school. There's that picture. There it is in their little swan boat. Allah Akbar Johnny with his bazooka aimed toward the sky. Hurrah! No, not good. Not good at all. We shouldn't be looking at this picture. It is really sick and twisted, but it's part of the bizarre alternate reality, the Twilight Zone, the episode of Sliders that we are all currently stuck in, folks. That's what it is. We're stuck in it. We're absolutely stuck in it. We live in a world, folks. We live in a world that's been turned upside down. 20 years of effort in Afghanistan turned upside down. The border turned upside down. National security turned upside down. Our military has gone woke. It's been turned upside down. Our reputation upside down. Our allegiance to our citizenry, our government's allegiance to the citizenry. Was it even ever there? That's a good question. Our relationship with our allies turned upside down. Our relationship with our enemies, even worse. We've become submissive puppy dogs, while a new axis of evil between China, Iran, and Russia develop. And we can't even take our president seriously, our leaders seriously, our Secretary of State, our Defense Secretary. They're all shysters, scam artists, snake oil salesmen. They're all full of shice. You thought I was going to say the other one, didn't you? Listen. We take celebrities more seriously. We take celebrities more seriously than we do our leaders. And when celebrities say something that goes against the narrative and the establishment, the elites, the government, they all freak out. You have to ask yourself another question. Are those celebrities on to something? Are they on our side? Nicki Minaj. That may be a digital crush of mine, but my wife would murder me, so let's just pretend it's not. But listen, Nicki Minaj, somebody you wouldn't expect. I may listen to her tunes once in a while working out in the gym. You know, sometimes on the Stairmaster, you gotta bust a sweat to Barbie tings. But listen, folks, listen. I digress from my awkward music habits, and I go on to something serious. In an upside down world, a world heading towards populism, a world that's heading towards what the larger group, what tribe, what clique has the most popular idea with the most momentum behind it, while we compete with each other, while we have warfare in the classes and new groups that are made, division instilled upon us. We don't trust our leaders, and we trust celebrities. We trust Nicki Minaj, even though she's on our side with this one, even though she's on the side of free speech. We trust Nicki Minaj more than we trust our leaders. In the case of Joe Biden, I would trust a homeless man's shoe. That's right, a homeless man's shoe. His brown, dirty cartoon shoe. You can picture it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I would trust that shoe to not have crack rocks in it. I would trust that shoe to not have a hole in it. A homeless man's shoe. It depends what neighborhood we're talking about. All right, there's different things in different shoes. But I would trust that shoe more than I trust Joe Biden. So it's no surprise that we trust these celebrities. But we've found ourselves again in this alternate reality, in this environment. Did it start with MTV votes? Do you remember back in the 90s when we were all pissed off and we're like, what the F does Aerosmith have to do with my vote? What the F does Collective Soul? I don't know. I'm rattling off 90s bands that might have been on MTV. What the hell do they have to do with politics? I don't want to hear what, I don't know, Destiny's Child has to say about my vote back in 1999. Did that have something to do with it? I don't know. Maybe it was. Actually, it must have been social media, because social media has given everybody a global platform and expanded the celebrity of these people by 100 times. It has to be 100 times. People like Nicki Minaj wouldn't have had the same traction that they have now 10, 20, 30 years ago. You know it. I know it. It's the absolute truth. But anyway, regardless, I'm not going to talk too much crap. I like Nicki Minaj. I got nothing really bad to say. Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, all those people, they all seem to be on Trump's side anyway. And they're all about making money. They're all about capitalism. So I really think that it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean, if Hollywood is going to all be against, if everybody's going to be on the far left, if all of these celebrities are going to drop hate and bombs and try to cancel all of us and silence all of us, if a couple of them come to our side and say, hey, free speech is important. Hey, why the hell are we not doing the right thing by allowing people to express their ideas and opinions? And then when the establishment rains hellfire from the sky, rains down a fire of hell from the sky and buries them with it, buries them, absolutely destroys them with it. Well, maybe just maybe, we'll get a Nicki Minaj using her vast millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, that thing that you and I both don't have, and use that as a weapon against the left. We can only hope that these celebrities get so angry, so disgruntled, so pissed off with the establishment that they aim their well-financed legal teams right at big tech, the mainstream media, and the U.S. government. All right, that's a rant. It's a long-winded rant. It is what it is. But Nicki Minaj herself is saying that you need to open your effing eyes to COVID censorship. The Twitter ban is making me think that there's something bigger going on. This is from the National File. This is Jack Hadfield coming from the National File, all right? It's a good resource. It's a good website. But Nicki Minaj is telling you to open your effing eyes. She wants you to open your eyes to the COVID censorship. And you have to ask yourself, when the president is holding something like remdesivir, and we know ivermectin seems to be doing a good job. We know hydrochloroquine seems to be doing a good job. There's a lot of studies that show that it works. Joe Rogan took the stuff. It seems to work. But remdesivir also works. It's just more expensive. It just makes them richer. But remdesivir does help a lot of people, just like the other things. And Joe Biden's restricting it to Florida to try to force Governor DeSantis to bend to his evil will. So if the president can literally murder old people in Florida by restricting treatments from them just to get back at Governor DeSantis, who's slowing down the president's evil takeover, his evil socialist takeover of the country. Well, then I think Nicki Minaj may have a point. I think she may have a point. Let's find out a little bit more about what's going on with Nicki. I got to ask myself if I should do the Nicki Minaj accent, which is probably really bad. I'm really not good at it. But if I should read her lines I think she's got like that New York accent. I don't know. After being temporarily suspended from Twitter for questioning the COVID vaccine pop star, Nicki Minaj encouraged Americans to open your effing eyes. I guess I don't know if that's close to the censorship. I think that might be closer to, what's her name? I might be thinking of that, what's the one? What's the lady's name? She's a stripper. Cardi B, that's the one that talks like this. She basically is the female ghetto equivalent of this accent right here. Anyway, Nicki Minaj encouraged Americans to open your effing eyes to the censorship currently happening in the West, adding that her ban made her think that there's something bigger going on. Minaj, the Trinidadian-born pop star, has made global news in recent days for tweeting in support of medical freedom, explaining that someone she knows became impotent after taking one of the controversial COVID vaccines, and then urging her followers to pray and weigh the benefits of getting vaccinated. In response, globalist media outlets became enraged at the star, with only Tucker Carlson and other pro-freedom outlets defending her. On Wednesday evening, Minaj even tweeted out a clip of Carlson defending her, causing an even greater backlash from pro-vaccine defenders. Shortly after posting the clip from Carlson's show defending her tweets on the COVID vaccine, Minaj was temporarily suspended from Twitter. In a post to Instagram stories, Minaj said that just as she was about to post a poll on the site, she realized that she had been put in Twitter jail because they didn't like what she was saying over there. In an email to National File, Twitter claimed that there had been no enforcement action taken on her account, casting confusion as to why Minaj was not able to post. Minaj proceeded to go live on Instagram, slamming the censorship from Twitter just for asking questions about the COVID vaccine. Quote, "You can't speak for the fear of the mob attacking you," Minaj said, saying it should give people chills up and down your effing spine, comparing what happened to the oppression of Christians across the world and other authoritarian regimes. You should be able to ask questions about anything you're putting inside your body. We ask a bunch of questions about the most simple things, but you just can't innocently ask a question about something going in your body. I remember going to China and they were telling us you can't speak out against the people in power there. I remember all of us thinking, oh, okay, well, we understand and we respect the laws here and that it's so different where we live. Don't y'all see that we are now living in that time where people will turn their back on you? People will isolate you if you simply speak and ask a question. And that's some real truth. Nicki Minaj, I don't care whatever you think of her. What she's saying is really true there. Really true. And that's a picture of Nicki Minaj. Well, hello, Nicki. Anyway, in what may not be a surprise to some, the picture was distracting me again. In what may not be a surprise to some, Minaj added that many other musical artists feel the same way as her, but they're afraid to speak up for fear of the same backlash happening to them. Quote, "I will never use Twitter again," she added, noting that her ban from Twitter was making her think that something bigger is happening with the censorship in general around the COVID vaccine. I kept on seeing all these people with all these conspiracy theories, and I was like, oh, what? Please. But what in the world scared y'all that made y'all disable my effing Twitter? I have not put out anything that I said was a fact about anything. I simply said we should be able to ask questions and speak. It's scary when they start telling you that you can't ask questions about anything. Listen to me. Please open your effing eyes. Open your eyes. That's all. This story fits in well with the American Reveille. As you know, Reveille is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. She's saying, open your eyes. Part of waking up is opening your eyes. You see how I did that? I put it together. The left likes to do that with news. They like to use crazy logic to relate things together and make things happen. But that's not what's happening here. Nicki Minaj is making a great point, and she's speaking up for free speech. And the left is trying to bury her for it. But she has a platform of 20 million fans, young people and people around our age group alike, who will learn from it, who will defend her, and might just change their point of view, which really is what the left is scared of. They're afraid to lose their grip over basically pop culture in general. When somebody like Nicki Minaj defects from the leftist narrative, something is to be feared. Something is to be feared. And speaking of something scary, well, not to everybody. I like heavy metal, but heavy metal, Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, he's the singer of Megadeth. They got that song Sweating Bullets from back in the 80s or 90s. Hello, me. Meet the real. Anyway, just don't even get me started. It's part of a song. I don't know if you listen to that type of music, but Dave Mustaine, he's a heavy metal singer. He's the front man of Megadeth. He says masks and lockdowns, they're tyrannical. And we have the power to change things. And he's right. Look at these celebrities all standing up for months and years now. All we've seen are basketball stars. You know who I'm talking about. That big POS LeBron James. We've seen people like him. We've seen all of the far left-wing Robert De Niro's of the world standing up for justice and peace while destroying this country. And now we got Nicki Minaj. We've got Megadeth frontman Dave Mustaine stepping up, doing the right thing. And supporting free speech, supporting our right as Americans, our rights to individual liberty, to the pursuit of happiness, all of the things that the left wants to destroy. The elites, the Joe Bidens, the Green New Deal supporters, the socialists, the Great Reset proponents, the Davos crowd, China, they all want to destroy our way of life. But Megadeth frontman Dave Mustaine says, F you to all of them. Dave Mustaine, frontman of the metal band Megadeth, slammed mask fans and lockdown advocates during a concert in Camden, New Jersey last week, noting that the tyranny right now is, he doesn't sound like that. He probably sounds like the tyranny right now is in the schools and the tyranny is in the medical business. It really is. When ivermectin cost pennies and remdesivir cost thousands. Mustaine also lauded the festive atmosphere at the concert and said, "We're not freaking out. We're not yelling at people. Where's your effing mask?" But I just want to tell you how great it is. Look around, guys. Look to your right. Look to your left. And look how wonderful this is. Mustaine said after noting he was having a great effing time to thunderous applause. Where's your effing mask? Where's your effing mask, you loud cow? That's what he said. He said, we're not freaking out. We're not yelling at people for their mask. Where's your effing mask? Where's your effing mask, you loud cow? He's asking. He's saying. He's making a statement. He's saying, look at us together. We're gathered peacefully. We're having a good time. And we're not destroying our brothers and sisters by demanding that they wear their effing mask. Quote, see, the thing right now that's going on is tyranny, Mustaine continued. This is called tyranny. Look it up. When you get home, look it up. And tyranny isn't only in government. Tyranny right now is in the schools. Tyranny is in the medical business. We have the power, especially us heavy metal fans. We have the power to change this. We all do. Whether you're Nicki Minaj fans, whether you're heavy metal Dave Mustaine Megadeth fans, we all have the power to change this. But just like I said in the beginning, we're in this twilight zone. We're in this weird dystopia, this psychotic upside down world we found ourselves in, where celebrities are controlling the narrative and our leaders are powerless because they're psychopaths trying to destroy our way of life. Joe Biden is literally trying to destroy our way of life. So we talked about the Chinese in the beginning. We talked about how they have the most to benefit, how the elites have the most to benefit. The Davos crowd, the Great Reset crowd, the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the wealthy elites that seem to be pulling the puppet strings. We asked, is this by design? Is this a coincidence? With all these people benefiting and this bizarre world we find ourselves in, this unrecognizable, bizarre, alternate timeline that we all seem to be living through. We've seen how they've infiltrated Hollywood, the mainstream media, how they've infiltrated our schools, how they've infiltrated everywhere, our elected officials. And then a virus all of a sudden is released, the world goes crazy, and China's credibility, their credibility skyrockets, while America disintegrates. So who has the most to benefit? Who has the most to benefit? I say it's China. I say this really feels like it's by design. I told you we were going to talk about this mom that's going to read what the school was putting out to her son, her 10-year-old son. That's part of this. Whoever is benefiting from this had a hand in programming our kids. We know that Common Core, that our public school systems, they were designed by Bill Ayers, they were endorsed by Obama, they were changed, they were filled for years now, decades now. They've been filled with Marxism, with anti-Semitism, with hate for America, with hate for our culture, and with the seeds of classism to help destroy the brotherhood and sisterhood of this country. Our school system's been filled with it. And now the left is so brazen. They infect our schools with filth. And they expect parents to be so locked into their cell phones, so locked into their own little worlds, they're not paying attention to their school, their kids' school. So they're not going to notice the filth, the absolute disgust that's being trained into our children's minds. We wonder why there's an epidemic out there, a pandemic out there, right? A pandemic of transgenderism, a pandemic of wokeism, a pandemic of destruction of the nuclear family, of roles. And it's 2021. When I say roles, anybody can be in a role, but we need to have marriages. We need to have things that are done correctly, right? You can have a mom and a dad, and the dad can stay home and take care of the kids, and the mom can bring home the bacon. Who cares? But there has to be some way that a husband and wife can work together to better their family. But instead, these values that have been taught through our school system, they're meant to destroy our families. They're meant to destroy our families. I don't care what you think of me, but it is the truth. It is the truth. We sucked each other's beeps. I'm not going to say it. I'm trying to clean up my language. Like I said in the beginning of this, I'm working on getting on AM radio stations so we can get more affiliates and more exposure and get past the censorship. If we can't beat them through the internet, let's do it the old school way. So we got to clean up the cursing a little bit, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be hard hitting. We sucked each other's beeps. Mother reads sexually explicit school book to board members. This is from the Gateway Pundit by Jordan Conradson. Guys, this is literally what's happening in schools across this country, and brave mothers and fathers are standing up and fighting, but we're not winning everywhere. And you have to hear this. It's absolutely psychotic. It's absolutely psychotic and stunning that it would even be a thing. But it is a thing. It's absolutely real, and it's going to blow your mind. A concerned mother brought a school book, to her school board to address the sexual harassment and vulgar language that is being pushed on her children. There's the mom right there. Nice lady, right? Reading off this paper. This specific book references 10-year-old fourth graders engaging in homosexual actions and using language like, quote, his little salamander between my fourth grade fingers rapidly engorging with blood, end quote. Her children might be a little older, and the book itself is underage. It's about young kids. That's still very sick. It used the F word, 44 times, and the S word 41 times before page 66, according to the mom. Now, we're adults. We don't care about these F-bombs and S-bombs. But when you're teaching young people about it, there is a problem. I don't think it builds discipline. I don't think it builds normal relationships. I don't think it's helpful in the upbringing of kids to flood them with material full of cursing. It happens, right? We're all human. We all curse in front of our kids once in a while, right? Things slip. Not everybody's perfect. Look, some people slack, right? But we all try. At least some of us try, right? I try. You try to not get upset when we maybe bang our finger right? Or a bill comes in that's really expensive. Shit. Oops. You know what I mean. You try not to say it, but it happens. But 44 times, right? 44 times for the F-bomb, 41 times for the S-bomb. This is my son, Cameron. This is what she says. He attends Leander High School. Okay, so her son is in high school. Her son's in high school. I'm going to have people that don't sit through this whole podcast that know a little more of this story, and then they send me angry emails. They say, you said his son was a 10-year-old, and now it turns out that he's in high. Look, it happens. It absolutely happens. It's still bad. Why would you want your son in high school reading about fourth graders doing these dirty deeds? Let's talk about this. This is my son, Cameron. He attends Leander High School, and I'm going to explain to you the book that he received. But Mr. McKay, I pray you are a man of your word. Last week, I asked my children if I could check the books that they've picked up from the school. My son picked up this brand new book from the shelves in class, Lawn Boy. He was under the impression it was about a kid that ends up with a gig mowing the grass at Disneyland. I hope it's not a terrorist Disneyland like we talked about in the beginning of this episode. I'd like to share a few quotes with you. On page 19, quote, not that it really matters. In fourth grade, at a church youth group meeting out in the bushes, I touched Doug Goebel's D, and he touched mine. In fact, there was even some mouths involved. Next one, page 91. What if I told you I touched another guy's D? What if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I put Doug Goebel's D in my mouth. I was in fourth grade. It was no big deal. He sucked mine too. And you know what? It wasn't terrible. Page 174. He talked about all times at the church, but never mentioned our penises or the fact that he never had 10 words to me after our little foray in the bushes. Not a single reference to holding or tugging or sucking of D's. All I could think about while he was chatting me up was his little salamander between my fourth grade fingers, rapidly engorging with blood. Page 230. Why won't you admit we suck each other's D's? We shared a Hershey's bar. Then you showed me your D. The next thing I know, it's in my mouth. We sucked each other's D's and you're pretending it didn't happen. What sort of diversity are you intending to teach my child with material like this? In addition, I'll share with you the exceptional quality of vocabulary. I stopped counting on page 66 after 44 F-bombs and 41 S-bombs. The depravity of the content on the shelves in our schools cannot be mitigated with policy. At this point, I need you to know that according to Policy FH, local sexual harassment is defined as unwanted sexual advances, sexually motivated verbal, nonverbal conduct, or other conduct or communication of a sexual nature. When the conduct is so severe, persistent, or pervasive that it affects a student's ability to participate in or benefit from an educational program or activity, or otherwise adversely affects a student's educational opportunities or creates an intimidating, hostile educational environment, what sort of educational environment do you think the plethora of sexually graphic book selections create for my children or for any child for that matter? I won't go into my fourth grade daughter, but we don't. This is not a thing for fourth graders. Who normalizes sex acts between fourth graders? I'll tell you who. Pedophiles. So it's fortuitous that you invited the Leander Police Department to visit tonight so we can talk about it. And then the board member passed on and said, all right, we have speaker number 23. They moved past it. Do you know what this content does? This content is made to normalize homosexuality in young people. Now, here's the thing. If somebody is a homosexual or somebody wants to be in the transgender community, I try to make that not my business, right? I try to do the best thing and make that not my business. But you can't push that culture onto young people. Let them make that decision later. Let them make that decision later. That's my belief on it. I know there are some young people out there that feel it and they've always felt it. And look, I went to high school and you knew who was a homosexual in the LGBT community, and they didn't know it yet. Let's just say that. You knew it. Everybody knew they were a homosexual. They themselves, they did not know yet. So look, I get it. People out there exist, but it's not everybody. This gigantic uptick, all right, in people in the LGBT community. And I'm convinced that there are plenty of people in the LGBT community that just want to live a life and be left alone and do their thing. And then there's like a militant side, this trans young militant side that seems to almost be attacking the LGBT community itself to force it to become more radicalized. Those folks, in conjunction with our school systems, they are literally normalizing and teaching not just that it's a part of our society, but that it's more positive to be a part of that group than to just be a regular, heterosexual, male, female. You can't say that there are two genders. I'll say it. There are two genders. But in the schools, they are teaching something different. And it's all part of the brainwashing. It's all part of the indoctrination. It's all part of making citizens that are good little compliant cowards. Cowards. I was going to use the B word, but cowards. That's what they are. They're cucks. They're submissive, and they want just these effeminate left-wing people that just do what they're told so that the elites of the world can have their great reset. China can rule, and the rich stay rich. The poor stay poor. The world is changed. And, basically the crown gets to stay on the heads of the elites forever. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they want to do. That's my assumption. That's my assumption, at least, especially when it comes to mandates. Look what's happening. You see Joe Biden getting out there telling us that we're in a pandemic of the unvaccinated, putting out mandates like he's a king. Right? Like he is the emperor of the United States, and his expectation is hope, the hope of the Great Reset, the hope of China, the hope of the Davos crowd, the elites across the world, is that eventually we'll have a citizenry that just bows and does what they're told. They just want that 1984 world so bad. So bad. All right, guys, look, we have a lot of power. All right. We have power as Americans. We have power as citizens. We have power in a capitalist society. Well, it's still a capitalist society, to do our best to not give our funds to the companies that are supporting this outrageous, tyrannical mandate put forth by Joe Biden, the 100-employee rule. The 100-employee rule, the rule that's going to lead to the firing of millions of people. It's going to lead to the bankruptcy of millions of people, because if you're forcing them to pay for their own tests and they're already skimming on bankruptcy, already skimming on poverty, come on, look around you. How many people are just barely making it? And with the rising inflation, we're being crushed. We're in a vice. And then they're going to squeeze us to pay for COVID tests. It's up to you whether you want to get a COVID test or not. But what about the folks that have a disability? What about folks that have a disability where getting a COVID shot might be harmful to their health? What about those folks that are employed? Go by ADA standards, all that, folks that maybe have a mental disability, folks that have a HIPAA thing and they have the right to work but are in a very special employment category. Do they all get fired? It seems like they do. So what happened to that? Don't those people have rights anymore? It seems that COVID trumps all. But we all know that COVID was released. And COVID is being used as the vessel, as a scapegoat, as an enema for this tyrannical power grab by the elites. And if these elites these American elites and these elites across the world, if they get their payoff, if they get their goodies, if they get to get power, if they get to have their ignorance is bliss cipher from the Matrix moment where they get paid off by the elite, by the epic machines, by the power of the world, right? It's like Xerxes from 300. Remember, he's standing over Leonidas. Leonidas, I will give you riches. Join me. That's like China standing over Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and all of these wealthy aristocrats. Meow. Listen, folks, we're not dumb. They want us to be dumb. They teach our kids these things to be dumb. They do everything in their power to make us dumb. But you and I, we're not dumb. We see through it. So we're going to use our collective power to do everything we can to expose the companies that bow down and kiss the ring. So I'm going to show you these 11 businesses. One of them might not be a business, but you could call it a business. But we're going to show you these 10, 11 businesses that are already stepping up to kiss the ass of President Joe Biden. Vaccination mandate. These businesses penalize unvaccinated employees. Workers have been suspended or are facing healthcare surcharges. Look at that. They're not just following Mr. Biden, but they're even cracking the whip as his taskmasters on everyday employees like you and I. This is by Lawrence Richard. This is coming from Fox Business. Some employees returning to work are receiving separate benefits depending on whether or not they are vaccinated against the coronavirus. Sounds like discrimination. Several airlines and some major companies are instituting healthcare penalties or suspensions without pay if workers choose not to receive one of the widely available free vaccinations. Fox Business is tracking some of the companies enforcing the non-vaccination penalties. So let's go down the list. We've got Alaska Airlines. And they were my favorite to fly to. This sucks. Alaska and Horizon Airlines, sister companies under Alaska Air, are looking closely at a vaccine mandate for their 23,000 employees and are even offering $200 to any employee who can show proof of vaccination. Conversely, unvaccinated employees will have to follow a new testing protocol, face additional layers of masking and social distancing guidelines, be required to undergo a vaccine education program, and will no longer receive special pay for coronavirus-related leave. Look at that. They have a special camp for the unclean. Wow. They have a camp for the unclean where they'll learn about vaccine education. Look at that. That sounds very 1930s, Alaska Airlines. We believe having as many people as possible vaccinated is the best path for protection against COVID-19, and we will continue to strongly encourage our employees to be vaccinated, the airline told Fox Business in a statement. As of today, 75% of Alaska and Horizon employees who have shared their vaccination status are vaccinated. As we have throughout the pandemic, we'll continue to adjust our safety protocols as we learn. The statement concluded. I feel like these companies out there, right? What they do is they make these incentives to try to manipulate employees to get vaccinated, manipulate them into making certain decisions that they may not want to make because what's happening isn't fair. They're not getting the benefits. It's BS, but it's true. American Airlines, which I hate American Airlines. American Airlines has sucked for years now. They really, really do. You can't get anything. Look, I've got some issues, right? And I'm a veteran. And because of some of my issues with hips, with knees, things like that, I've asked them before if I could board the plane early. I've been told off for being a veteran, for trying to just board the plane and sit in my seat so that I'm not in pain. I've been told that they don't care about that sort of thing anymore and it's not important. Trust me, they've got some real pieces of crap working for that company. They really do. American Airlines will similarly end pandemic relief aid for unvaccinated employees who contract the coronavirus. Beyond October 1st, employees who are not vaccinated and have to miss work due to coronavirus infection or exposure will be required to use earned sick time or medical leave for any time missed. Quote, we've heard from the many team members that the full approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine by the FDA gives them additional peace of mind when they were previously hesitant to get vaccinated. Listen, guys, it almost feels with American Airlines like they're taxing their employees. It almost feels like they're literally taking money out of their pocket. What if one of their employees has a disability? What if one of their employees has multiple comorbidities and something in that vaccine could give them a blood clot? It's rare, right? But it exists. What if that person is in a low-paying position and now they get sick with COVID, have to fight for their life, and American Airlines penalizes them? Does their pre-existing condition, does HIPAA matter at all? Does ADA matter at all anymore? Why is this narrative? Why does this narrative seem more important than the lives of you and me? Why? Somebody tell me. Delta Airlines will require unvaccinated employees to pay a sizable surcharge each month. Starting November 1st, employees who refuse to get inoculated and are on Delta's healthcare plan will be forced to pay an additional $200 for their health insurance. That's pretty freaking messed up. United Airlines, they're penalizing employees who fail to receive at least one dose. A new policy, which will take effect October 2nd, will place any pilot, flight attendant, or customer service agent who's not inoculated on temporary unpaid leave, according to a memo sent to employees by Kirk Limacher, United Vice President of Human Resources. Folks, listen. You're not hearing much about this right now because it's still the middle of September. We still got 10 or so days to go before October hits, when all these different companies have their unpaid leave policies and termination policies come into effect. They've given people some time. There's a countdown. There's a hostage situation happening for bodily autonomy at these companies. Next month, you're going to hear about mass layoffs. The unemployment is going to spike in this country. Economies are going to start crashing even more. Inflation is going to rise even higher. We are going to have problems of massive proportions in the next few months. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Broward County, Florida. Hey, that's where I'm from. I was born in Broward County, Florida. It's a really, really crappy blue place. It really, 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 really is. Broward County government employees have been offered a one-time bonus of $500 if they can show proof of their vaccination status, but those who remain unvaccinated will have to pay. Unvaccinated employees will seemingly foot the benefit, as they will have a $20 surcharge taxed onto each of their paychecks, along with a weekly coronavirus test, County Mayor Steve Geller announced Wednesday. We're trying to walk a tightrope, Geller said, regarding the program's intent to boost vaccine rates, but those who have chosen to endanger the community. The problem with this is that there are many people where $20 will make or break them. Believe it or not, trust me, when I was growing up, I was one of those people. I grew up in a family where $20 would literally put us out. Would literally cost us days of shelter and food. $20. Literally, some people live off $20 for days. All right? We certainly did. So any additional financial burden to be used as an incentive to put something in your body which you may not medically be eligible for, regardless of rushed approval or not, is unconstitutional, insane, tyrannical, and everything wrong with the United States today. Indiana University Health, a healthcare system, all right, that is one of the largest employers in the state, of Indiana, of course, Indiana University Health, they issued a health mandate requiring all employees to receive at least one dose of the coronavirus vaccine by September 1st. Employees that refuse to receive the vaccine or miss the deadline have been suspended from returning to work. MGM Resorts, Las Vegas, MGM Resorts International has discontinued paid time off for the unvaccinated employees that have to quarantine after infection or exposure to the coronavirus. None of this is fair since you can still get infected again even with the vaccine. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority in New York, the MTA, will also be penalizing unvaccinated employees in an effort to boost vaccination rates. The MTA announced that it would be pulling the $500,000 death benefit for unvaccinated employees. Conversely, surviving family members of vaccinated workers who die to the virus will receive a lump sum payment and 3 years of health insurance benefits. Take a look at this. Don't you see how they're pitting the narrative? They're taking all the benefits away, all of the things away from anybody who's unvaccinated. It's a we versus them. Right? They're trying to make it seem like everybody without a vaccination is evil and everybody with a vaccination is good, is holy, is righteous. This is going to cause violence. This is how people get in horrible situations in societies where people are literally killing each other in the streets. They're literally pitting society against each other. The vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Ochsner Health. Employees at Ochsner Health in Louisiana, the state's largest healthcare system, have been tasked with getting a vaccine by October 29th or facing termination. They'll be suspended for 30 days. Oh, you get time to think about it. They'll get an opportunity to be able to get vaccinated. Get it? Look, if you don't have a vaccination by the deadline, they give you a 30-day grounding, a 30-day timed out. You're grounded, Tommy. Get in your room and think about what you've done. And if you don't bend to our will in 30 days, you're fired. Plain and simple. They'll be suspended for 30 days. They'll get an opportunity to get vaccinated. If not, if they haven't met a religious or medical exemption, then they will be fired. Peace Health. As of August 31st, Peace Health employees in Lane County, Oregon, who did not receive a coronavirus vaccine were placed on unpaid administrative leave. August 31st, it's September. August 31st, it's September 19th. Folks, that is 20 days so far. It's been 20 days. Those people have been put on unpaid administrative leave. They are not receiving any money. Their families could be hungry, all in the name of the superflu. Some of these employees have had the option to work remotely, but those who do not have that option, like medical assistant Christina Williams, they've been forced to use their limited paid time off hours. How much PTO do you have? All right. If you even get any, how much PTO do you have? If you were forced to use a bunch of it, would you be able to get through this year and not get fired? If you got sick with something like an actual thing that needed surgery? If you had to use up all your sick hours, it wouldn't work out. And there's a lot of people in this situation. And of course, the last one, the U.S. Army. All right. Like I said, not really a business, but if you want to look at them in terms of the military industrial complex, the U.S. Army is quite the business. Soldiers enlisted in the U.S. Army. My screen blipped up. This whole thing reloaded itself. That's one thing I hate about looking at Fox business articles is the page resets itself. The thing comes up with a video. They want to get your attention. They got the money to do it. So we're back here at it. The U.S. Army. Soldiers enlisted in the United States Army are also facing punishments if they refuse to get vaccinated, according to a new plan announced Tuesday in response to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who needs to resign, his order requiring all service members to be fully vaccinated against the coronavirus. Penalties would include discharge or relief of duty. Quote, while soldiers who refuse the vaccine will first be counseled by their chain of command and medical providers, continued failure to comply could result in administrative or non-judicial punishment, to include relief of duties or discharge. U.S. Army Surgeon General U.S. Army Surgeon General. See, that's a tongue twister right there. U.S. Army Surgeon General, Lieutenant General, Surgeon General, Lieutenant General. Aye, aye, Surgeon General, Lieutenant General R. Scott Dingle said soldiers have until December 15th, 2021 to get fully vaccinated. What kind of big uproar could you possibly see in the military? Look, this is what they have to say. Quote, "This is quite literally a matter of life and death for our soldiers, their families, and the communities in which we live. Case counts and deaths continue to be concerning as the Delta variant spreads, which makes protecting the force through mandatory vaccination a health and readiness priority for the total Army." Yeah, but you can still get coronavirus whether you have the vaccine or not. It just doesn't make any sense. But it starts to make sense when you look at it in a different context. When you say somebody, something, some force, some beneficiary, perhaps the country that benefited from COVID, perhaps the elites, perhaps the organizations in which they run, perhaps they're engineering this whole thing. Perhaps this is the Matrix. Perhaps this is by design. If it is by design, right? If it is by design, then we have to look for the clues, the glitches in the Matrix. We have to ask ourselves, why are Taliban fighters pedaling on swan boats in a lake holding bazookas? Why? Why is Nicki Minaj giving better advice on free speech than the sitting president of the United States? And why do we even hear about Dave Mustaine from Megadeth? Metalheads are jumping for joy. Oh my God, Dave Mustaine got some press. Why should it even matter? Right? Why are schools distributing books and literature talking about fourth graders engaging in sexual acts with each other, homosexual sexual acts with fourth graders? Why are we allowing that to be taught to our children? Why are businesses firing people, whether they're the handicapped, whether they're old, whether they're young, black, white, and different? Why are they firing people over bodily autonomy, over putting something in your body that you may or may not trust, that you may or may not be eligible for? And why? And this is what we're leading to. Why? When the left built this narrative, when they're using all of these things, when you see them getting mad at Nicki Minaj, when you see them unleashing their mainstream media arsenal against somebody who they thought was on their side, you have to start asking yourself, is something funny going on? Is this engineered? Is something happening behind the scenes? Are intelligence agencies controlling these situations? And who's controlling these intelligence agencies? Is it the elites, the Davos elites, the Great Reset people, the New World Order people, the Joe Bidens, the Mitch McConnells, the Clintons? Who is it? Who is it? And who's controlling them? Who benefits? Who benefits from COVID? Communist China. Is it possible? Is this the lineage? Is this what's happening? Remember, I said we have to look for glitches in the Matrix. So when the left-wing narrative comes up and they say that a crazy amount, hundreds and thousands of psychotic far-right neo-Nazis, and I'm going to tell you right now, the actual neo-Nazis out there, and I'm Jewish, I've had to deal with them, they're pieces of crap. The neo-Nazis out there, they have more in common with the far left than they have to do with anything on the right. I'm going to tell you that. That's the truth. This woke world we're living in, this racist woke nonsense, trust me, it aligns perfectly with neo-Nazis. They're just as racist as the far left. But I'm going to tell you, when I say glitches in the Matrix, we have to ask ourselves, if there's a beneficiary, if they had agents, like in the Matrix, agents out there, infiltrating, pretending to be things they're not, watchers in the system, right? Watching our every move, engineering which way things may or may not go. controlling the narrative. Remember, all these people, they're going to come to D.C., January 6th protest, this whole horrible thing. There's going to be mayhem, anarchy. All the riot police came out. None of the things they ever pull out for Antifa or BLM when they kill people, rape people, murder people, burn down entire cities. That's okay. It's in the name of fighting racism, coincidentally with racism. Even though they're not actually fighting racism, they're just racists. And anyway, we have to remember the Democrat Party is the party of racists. They always were. They were in the Civil War, and they are now. But how come the only armed person at the January 6th protest, the protest that's against the holding of these dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of January 6th, you want to call them protesters, rioters, whatever you want to call them, they deserve due process. Like everybody. Look, murderers get due process in this country. So all the people that did the silly stuff on January 6th, they deserve due process as well. But the left, they've sold it as this giant terrorist event. They've sold everybody on the right, everybody that supports Trump, as just as bad as the Taliban. They've normalized the Taliban and said Trump supporters are terrorists. It's become a psychotic nightmare. So please tell me, right? When we have a glitch in the Matrix, the black cat walks by. The black cat walks by. The black cat walks by. When we have deja vu, when we have a glitch in the Matrix, and a black cat walks by and they find an armed person, the thing they were warning everybody about at the January 6th protest, the protest protesting what happened to the people on January 6th. All right, the J6 protest from Saturday. They say, hey, why do you have a gun? And he flashes a badge. Breaking. Armed person detained at J6 rally is undercover agent, pulls out badge. This is Christina Layla, Gateway Pundit. There was a heavy police presence at the U.S. Capitol on Saturday in anticipation of a rally in support of the January 6 political prisoners. Demonstrators will show support for the January 6 political prisoners on Saturday. Hundreds of nonviolent Trump supporters are currently in jail, awaiting trial for walking through the Capitol on January 6th, but it was all a setup. There were more police, reporters, and undercover intelligence agents than protesters in Washington, D.C. The only armed person arrested on Saturday, they were an undercover agent themselves. Reporter Ford Fisher caught the whole thing on video. Police surrounded a masked man who was armed with a firearm. The masked man told officers where his gun was and pulled out a badge. Quote, without disarming or handcuffing him, police extract him from the event. They aren't even working with the cops. They're planted. This is a plant. This is somebody that was in there watching, waiting for a cue. Is this some sort of Manchurian candidate? I mean, literally. We're living in a world where we thought we would never see any of this craziness, where celebrities are literally giving orders to the general public about what they should believe, and the general public is listening. They're following them. They're following them. The Taliban's on freaking floating river rafts with bazookas. They look like swans. They're on a lake in Afghanistan having a great old time. Terrorist Disneyland. All right. We've got literal gay fourth grade pedophile porn being handed out to high school students, and parents are mad. What do you know? I'm a parent. I'm mad too. We've got vaccine mandates and companies bending the knee and people getting hurt and their families losing money and food being ripped from the tables of their children. And in the midst of all this craziness, while we're looking for a sign, while we're screaming to the heavens and we're wondering what the hell happened to our beautiful United States of America, a glitch in the Matrix. Another undercover agent at these events, working for an agency run by elites who've infiltrated the government and the world, the Davos crowd, the Chinese bought and paid for crowd. And speaking of the Chinese, they seem to be the only people benefiting from COVID-19, which leads me to believe that China is dishing out the big bucks They're helping the elites, and the elites are putting us in chains, and the power grab and shift is being engineered. That's what it seems to be. These are only my opinions, folks. I'm not saying that this is actually what's happening. I'm not some secret agent. This is what it seems to be. Look, I'm rolling the bones, right? You shake the bones up, you throw them out on the table, and you go, these two bones look like World War III. And this bone looks like Kamala Harris. And this bone looks like, is that Scooby-Doo? Ripping off Joe Biden's mask, and what's underneath? It is Kamala Harris. And she goes, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you dumb kids and that stupid dog. And then what do you think's going to happen? Then what happens? None of that's going to actually happen, folks. But unfortunately, we live in a dark, dirty world where money, greed, death, and destruction make the world go round. And all these people promising to fix it, these socialists, these Marxists, these far left psychopaths who come out there, they call themselves progressive, and they promised you the world. They promised you everything, and they said, please follow us and we'll fix it all. They are just as dirty, dark, corrupt, and greedy as any other person. It's human nature. And we're defined by how we fight against the evil within each and every one of us, and how we use our capabilities for good in this world to better our communities, better our neighborhoods, better our society, not because we're forced to under threat of persecution, under threat of imprisonment, under threat of violence, but because we want to. Because we're good, righteous people who love our friends, families, and neighbors. And as long as the left keeps destroying this country, as long as the left keeps poisoning this country, that dream is dying. Folks, listen to me close. When I see at every single event, every single thing that happens, where the right is blamed, where something horrible happens and the right is to blame. The right are the bad guys. The right, everything associated with the right is the devil. Why do I see an undercover agent or 10? Why does it come out later? Why does it get revealed that someone working for a federal agent in the government had something to do, and oopsie daisy? How come everybody seems to forget all of the evil that's being perpetrated by the elites? How come everybody seems to forget, right? Oh, all the people died in Afghanistan. Oh, all the soldiers. Oh, they had to get sent back by Biden because Biden screwed up. Some people died. 10, 11, 12, they died, right? But no, the news isn't going to play that anymore. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. I care. Veterans I know care. A lot of people care. Conservatives care. Maybe not the elected rhinos. They don't give a shit. Oh, I slipped. There's my first curse word of the episode. Good thing that the episode's wrapping up. Listen, guys. All right? They sent a drone out, shot a missile, and blew up a guy and said it was a terrorist. Hey, yay, we got a little win. We got some justice for the 11, 12, 13 service members. And, we want you to forget that we left thousands of Americans behind in Afghanistan by distracting you because we killed this bad guy, who is really not a bad guy, actually. Was he an engineer or scientist or something? A bunch of kids died. He was a good guy, an aid worker, helped the United States. We killed our friend. And then the media passed it off as a win, and then you see nothing about Afghanistan on TV anymore. Let me tell you the truth. People are still suffering, crying, and dying over there, and they will be for a long time. So we get lied to, we get deceived. The elites laugh at us. They literally go on vacation. They play golf. They ride bicycles. They laugh in our face. The inflation rises. We lose our homes. We lose our families. The divorce rates skyrocket. The suicide rates skyrocket. People lose hope. While people like Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi laugh all the way to the bank, which happens to be owned by China. So, folks, you have to do yourself the favor of asking a question. Who benefits? Is this all by design? Is this all a coincidence? Why does it feel like we're living in the Matrix? Why does it feel like we're living in an alternate reality? Once you figure out the answer to that question, then you'll know the truth. Folks, do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're watching this, make sure you follow along, you hit the subscribe button, you hit the like button, you leave a comment. I am censored to hell everywhere, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else you're watching this. It's been a real pain in the tushy to get the word out about American Reveille. But we're trying, we're doing everything we can, and it starts with you. Talk about American Reveille, spread the word, follow along, and share. If you're one of the people that see this through Facebook and you're wondering where I disappeared to, I'm, of course, banned again on Facebook for 30 days. Let me tell you what happened. I was a bouncer for years in South Florida, and there was a video, all right? There was a video on a group called Doorman Diaries, and it was in Britain, and it was of a drunk, intoxicated woman literally hurting people, attacking people, being violent, being crazy. And in South Florida, years ago, over a decade ago, you could choke a woman and drag her out of a building. That's choke a man and drag him out of a building. If they're being belligerent and intoxicated, the job of a bouncer is not to hurt people. It's to remove somebody from a situation so that the patrons inside can continue enjoying their time and spending money. We're all there to make money, not cause a big bar fight. Well, anyway, I literally posted the comment saying if I was the bouncer working there that night, I would have choked her and dragged her out of there, choked her, grabbed her in a choke and dragged her out of the facility, dragged her out of there and had the cops arrest her a quarter of the way through the video. I just made a little comment. Nobody else was involved in the comment, just me and the video. And I was immediately banned from Facebook again for 30 days for breaking their community standards by facilitating violence. You can't even speak an opinion. You can't even have a professional opinion if you were a bouncer, if you were a doorman, and you were in that profession. You can't say anything if you're the owner and founder of American Reveille. The censorship is real, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said before, we are working our butts off. We're cutting demos of this show, and we are fighting to find AM radio affiliates across this country that will pick up American Reveille. We don't have a lot of money. We're trying to get them to do it for free. I can't afford to pay for airtime. If you would like to see us get some airtime quicker and you'd like to make some donations, you can head over to our new and improved website, AmericanReveille.com, Reveille, and head right over to the donate tab. And you can see through there exactly how to do it. You can reach out to me directly for any questions you might have, James Lane at AmericanReveille.com, or you can fill out the contact form. Again, folks, we've updated the website. It's nice and beautiful now, just as good as Ben Shapiro's website, Dan Bongino's website, all these folks. It is the bomb diggity doo-dah. You can find a button right on the top to listen or watch our podcast. You get all of these different features, blogs, politics, economics, health, all these different categories, woke news, crime, international, legal, business, everything you may want. If you enjoy it and you have any feedback, let me know through the contact form. Any suggestions, I take them all. And if you would like to write for us, we are looking for more writers or bloggers. If you want to write articles in these categories, let me know. If you want to blog about the current situation that we're in or something interesting, let me know as well. We can talk. Go to the contact form at the website or email me direct, James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. I'm really trying to get this website national and get our podcast nationally syndicated. We're also looking at television stations across the country. We're looking under every rock and doing everything we can. The issue's always been funding, all right? We don't have the big pockets. So if you would like to help us, please hit the donate tab. Or if you'd like to work with us, if you're an investor, a sponsor, anybody that would have some connections that would like to help facilitate that, again, go to the website, AmericanReveille.com, Reveille, and hit the contact tab. Or just email me directly, James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. gmail.com. We've been doing this for a while now, and I really appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate you sticking with me and getting over this milestone. We finally got the new website out, and we've lost a lot of people. We gained some people. We had some employees. We lost some employees. We had some interns. We lost some interns. We did everything that we could, and we've survived this long, and we're only going to get bigger and better. So as we keep adjusting and we keep growing and we keep shucking and jiving and evolving as the American Reveille, you will come along for the ride with us, and we will end up on top with every other guy out there. The Ben Shapiros, the Dan Bongino's, all those folks. You will see American Reveille right up there next to them and even surpassing them. But these things take time. Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, he literally gave out newspapers for like 10 years in the Boston subway before anything came of it. So you know what? These things take time. And I'm like a turtle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm like a big old land tortoise. I've got nothing but time. And I'm humbled and I'm grateful that you're all coming on the ride with me. So with that being said, question everything. Think about what we've talked about today on episode 172 of American Reveille with James Lane. Think about it. Think about this upside down world we're living in and the possible manufactured nature of it. Think about these glitches in the matrix we've talked about. Think about these undercover agents and what that might mean. And let me know about it in the comment section below. Talk about what we're doing here. Share the website. Sign up for the newsletter. Get our publication, and more power to you. Free speech prevails in the end. The conservative movement prevails in the end. And a new age of freedom, a new age of unity, and a new age of righteous justice is coming for the United States. I'll see you all on the top. Bye.